Hi guys, it's Dakota. Hope everybody's doing well. Well, today I wanted to talk um, a little bit about the summer solstice, but more about a synchronicity that happened. So synchronicities have been really, really strong the last couple of months now. And I'd like to say that it's really blowing my mind. But the thing is, I think the more you practice, the more you put the more you put in to your work, the more return you're going to get. I mean, it only makes sense. So as you know, I do work every day. I do devotions every day. And if I cannot sit at my altar and do the devotion, with my statue and maybe some water or, an offering or whatever like that, which I prefer to do, but sometimes I just don't. It might be that I am running late. Maybe I'm procrastinating. Maybe I just am not into going upstairs and doing that day. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that I don't do it every single day. So if I'm not sitting in front of my altar, I am going within myself to do my devotion. I don't think that, I think the way I feel about tools, whether it's your statue or your candles or whatever it is, they're just that, they're tools. And they're great. They allow us to have focus and for us not to stray, have our thoughts stray. They keep us focused and reminded of why we're here and what it is that we're doing. However, I don't think that missing a day in front of my altar, as long as I've done my devotion, I don't think that it matters. I don't think that the gods are sitting wherever they sit and are saying, oh, well, she didn't get in front of her altar today, so that's a point off. I don't see it that way. I see it as I still took the time and gave my devotion, gave my gratitude, and such as. Now, even if it's not devotion, I'm still doing something every day. That could be reading a blog, working on my chakras, doing a meditation, doing journey work. Maybe I'm doing spell work. Maybe I'm reading tarot. Maybe I'm working with the oracle. All different things. I'm still doing something. I make sure that I am doing something every day. Well, let me take that back. I don't have to make sure. I want to. It's what, and I don't even want to. It just is. It just is. I just do. It's part of who I am. And so I think, and seriously, the more I do, the more I want to do. That isn't to say that there aren't times that I don't feel connected. A lot of times I don't feel connected. And usually it takes not giving up and going ahead and doing whatever it is that you're doing anyway. Even if I don't feel connected, I still do devotion. Even though I don't feel connected, I'll still read. Even though I don't feel connected, I still might pull a card for myself or do a meditation. So to do something every day. So when a synchronicity happens, it's really not like I feel like my mind is blown, but I kind of still do feel like my mind is blown because it's just It's so cool. It's like the coolest thing ever when that happens. So the thing with summer solstice right now, or midsummer, or Litha, whichever you like to call it, and what I want to talk about, they're sort of two separate things, but I'm sort of combining it because this is kind of what happened. All right. Well, last week we received a shipment at the store of books, and one of the books had been a pre-order book that we've been waiting for, and it came in. The book is by Jason Mankey, and I believe the name of it is The Horned God of the Witches, and something to that effect. I did not bring the book home because we've already sold a couple of copies, and I didn't feel right about taking one off of the floor when we only had so few. So I will probably end up having to order some more. However, we got into discussion about the gods, and specifically Pan, Cernunnos, and Hern. I'm sorry, Hern. That is who we were talking about. Now, they are not necessarily, or they are not, sun gods. Cernunnos is this is a statue of Cernunnos, horned god, Cernunnos. He's Celtic, and he is on my altar, my devotional altar. He shares space with my goddess, unless I am doing special work with her, and then he has another place where he sits. But he is who, for whatever reason, he never screamed at me and said, "Hey, I'm your God, you're working with me." It was nothing like that. It was very subtle, a very subtle energy that I was drawn to him, or he decided to be in my life, I guess. But I will honestly sit here and tell you that I have only ever worked with him a couple of times, like actually done ritual with him or called on him a couple of times in probably, let's say, at least 10 years plus. Um, and that's not good. For me to say, oh yeah, I've got Cernunnos on my altar, I don't know much about him. I mean, that's kind of cheesy, right? But I do know that he is the god of the forest. He is about fertility, about vegetation. He's the protector of the forest. He's a protector of the woodlands. And it might be, I've lived here on the farm now for almost going on 18 years, and being surrounded by woods, and the fact that I'm in the woods all the time, I think that has something to do with it. I think that has something to do with his energy. And so, anyway, so we were talking about them, and today I was doing my walkabout, and I was on the path, the little path, that goes across our creek. And I usually stop there and just close my eyes and just take in all the sounds, because the bird song is incredible. I listen to all the critters, the frogs and crickets, and maybe some cicadas. Right now we have cicadas, I think, a few. We didn't get the swarms that some of the other states did, but we did. We have a few. Um, and so I was just sitting there, closing my eyes, standing there, not sitting. I was standing there, had my eyes closed, and just listening. I didn't even have my arms outstretched, just listening to birds and listening to the breeze. It's a little breezy out there today, and just enjoying. And then it came to me that I follow the wheel of the year. And for those of you that don't know about that, I mean, I'm not going to go into a whole thing right now about it, but briefly, I can tell you that at Yule, the sun god, this is my belief now, at Yule, the sun god is born, and it's the beginning of the light half of the year. At Imbolc, he's sort of in his infant, childlike stage. We see that in the season. At Beltane, he is the young, frisky, young adult. Frisky, sort of almost the Pan image, chasing the girls, etc. But also Cernunnos at that time. And then there's the sacred marriage at Beltane. And then at summer solstice, at midsummer, he's now the father. Now, I know that some people follow Hearn for the summer solstice because he is the mature image. He is definitely, if you look at any of the statues or the drawings, he's definitely more mature than Cernunnos, definitely more mature looking than Pan. Although I have seen some images of Pan where he looks older, so I guess it's all in one's interpretation. But the ones that I've seen, Hearn does look like more like a father image, someone who is wiser, he's older, he's stronger, and then of course it's Samhain, and you know he's getting older, and then of course it's Samhain. He dies and then reborn again at Yule as the sun god. So it's sort of this life, death, and rebirth of the seasons. Now, I have only worked with Hearn on occasion, but Cernunnos, like I said, I have worked with more on a personal level. I can see both. I can see Cernunnos as a god representative of summer solstice, because even though Hearn is more fatherly and mature, as someone who is just starting the harvest, would take on a younger energy for me. So I was thinking about that. Now, I don't have a statue of Hearn, and I thought, you know what? For this summer solstice, I'm going to do a ritual to Cernunnos. And this also has to do with some of the synchronicity that was being talked in our little group discussion last week. So I'm going to do a small ritual to Cernunnos, but not for summer solstice or midsummer, and not really a ritual to or about Cernunnos. I know it sounds like I'm talking in circles, but just bear with me. Just in recognition of the work of this season, of the midsummer season. When I look at Cernunnos and I look out at my plants, you know, they're in my flower garden and vegetable garden. I still have my vegetable. I mean, we're only in, it's not, tomorrow is June. Tomorrow is June 1st. So we haven't even gotten to summer solstice yet. I believe summer solstice this year is Sunday the 20th, I believe. And So we're not even in summer solstice yet. So when I look at Cernunnos, I think, my tomatoes, they're just now starting to fruit. They're very, very, very small, green little fruits. Um, my flowers, some are still just now starting to bud. Some of my bulbs are just now, the summer bulbs are just now starting to come out of the earth. So that is very young. That is young. That is a young energy. It is a younger, even though it is summer and summer is strong, that sun is strong. At the beginning, it's still very young. I know here in North Carolina, you're not going to see the farmers this month going out and harvesting their corn crops because they're just now starting to come up. Everything right now is just starting to come up. Everything is still fairly young, but it's strong. The sun is getting stronger. So the crops will be bountiful and they will be stronger. So I just felt like I wanted to do a ritual to the energies of what this season, midsummer, represents. And I thought, I'm going to go ahead and use Cernunnos to represent that energy, that strong, young, youthful, but strong energy. And he's not a young image frolicking around. He's strong, he's maturing, and it just felt right to me. It felt right to me. So that's what I thought I would do. I don't know when I will do it. I don't know if I will do it on summer solstice. Maybe I will. Usually I do something else on summer solstice with my group, but we haven't talked about anything for this year, so I have no idea. But I'm going to make an incense, and I'm definitely going to do a journey to try to connect more with Cernunnos, to see if there's, and maybe even not Cernunnos, maybe just the season, if there's such a thing. If I can just connect with the energy of the season and have a better understanding, better connection. However, I am going to use Cernunnos as my foundation, as my root. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to make an incense, and I'm going to use lavender. The lavender is growing really well this year. It didn't grow well last year, but this year it's looking really, really good. And lavender is for attraction. So I'm hoping that it will help attract good energy, good spirit. I know the bees love it. The bees are attracted to it. And the bees are my little sacred totem. They are my totem insect, the bee, honeybee. So I'm going to use lavender. I'm going to use rosemary to help purify my space. The rosemary is doing more than fabulous. I didn't think about it. My rosemary is huge and it's in a pot. It's so huge that I cannot lift the pot. It's in a big giant pot. And I wanted to move it to a different location. So I asked my husband to help me move the pot, and I didn't even think about it, but the roots had grown through the bottom of the pot and were in to the earth. And when we moved the pot, we ripped the roots. So I was just sick. And I moved it back to exactly where it was in the first place. And I blessed it and I told it I was very sorry, and I've been watering it and it is starting to regrow. So I'm going to leave it right where it is. And so I'm going to use rosemary for the growth and to help purify my space. And I'm going to use, of course, sage for protection, because I am going to be doing a journey. I like to have sage or Palo Santo, but I'm gonna pick some sage out of my garden. It is garden sage. It is not desert white sage. I live in humid North Carolina, East Coast. Very humid here. You can't grow regular white sage. So I'm going to use that. And actually, I'm looking down at this altar. I had picked this. These were the tall stems that were growing from the sage from last year, and I cut them because they were just, the sage was looking really straggly. They're dry now. Perfect. Perfect. So that's what I'm going to use. Not all of it. I'll leave some on the altar. But I'm going to crush some of that and use that in my incense as well. And then, of course, the other thing I'm going to use is tobacco. And I was going to crush the tobacco and put that in with the incense. But something is telling me, my intuition, whatever it is telling me that on this particular journey that I need to hold the tobacco while I journey. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold the tobacco as an offering and see what happens with that. So that's what I'm going to do. So Cernunnos is not a sun god. However, this is summer solstice coming up. This is midsummer season, and I think being this young, strong energy is what summer solstice is all about. So that's what I'm doing. I wrote a little thing. Some of it I did take as inspiration, and from something I don't know. I had it written in my little book here. So I'm going to end this and with this. God of the green, Lord of the forest, I ask for your blessing. Mighty horned one who roams the woodlands, you whose antlers of the wild stag are the lifeblood that spills upon the ground each season. God of the green, Lord of the forest, I ask for your blessing and your good fortune. Blessed be.